when we were on set, let's be honest, it was a magical, fun experience.
Hello, everyone. Hola, mis amigos. You're listening to Oh My God, Hi, Hijo de Dios. Hola. With me, George Lopez. Porque, ¿sabes qué? Let's do the show. Porque I got a lot of things to do. I gotta go to that dry cleaner ahí. My kid fell. Se pegó la cabeza. I gotta go get some Neosporin Paul. Oh my God, hi. Do you have an intro down?
I don't have an intro down, but I know who.
Great, fucking thanks for showing up prepared, man.
Well,
I only told you on fucking Friday that this is going to be happening.
Well, I know, but I know who.
In between fucking love sessions with your old lady, how many times did you guys? And this is a faith-based question. How many times did you guys make love this weekend?
Only once, but we did start this week off Megan love.
This morning. This dude. And you know, you married yet? No, you're engaged, right?
No, I'm married. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ross is married. I'm not. But don't feel good for me.
Brian's having a baby. Brian's speaking of
congratulations.
faith-based love.
Yeah.
Brian's having a baby.
And your wife is she Russian?
So she's German from Kentucky. Isn't it?
German from Kentucky.
I'm gonna say incest. I'm gonna say, does she have two spines?
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Are her toes webbed? Because that's a sure sign that the gene pool is out as various waters.
From Kentucky, she's like Espinosa.
That's hilarious.
Kentucky's. Well, I mean, okay, let's stick to the movie though. But we could do a little bit of that. Walking with Herb is something that I think most people would describe as a faith-based movie. And while I think about faith-based, and while I think of movies that are faith-based, it's its own genre. But in thinking about movies, Ross, like almost every movie could be considered something based in faith. You know, Wizard of Oz.
Oh yeah.
You know, things that you aspire to be better than they are when you start at a place.
Yeah, I've always called it inspirational. You know, an inspirational film, like The Blind Side, say. You know,
Was The Blind Side considered faith-based?
Blind Side was considered an inspirational film. They call faith-based, and that's been one of the challenges with our film, as you know from the beginning, is the faith-based is typically associated with Christian. A heavily Christian, faith-based, Jesus-oriented film, whereas our film was written by an agnostic and Mark Medoff, a great screenwriter,
right.
But he didn't believe in God. And so we created something that was what we call the faith-based film for all faiths. So it wasn't just a Christian-based film. The dog that George has in the film, his dog, has a collar, and on the collar is the Star of David, is the cross, is the symbol of Buddha, we have about 6 different religions represented in George's character. So the idea is that his character appears as a messenger of God, not just to a Christian, but to anyone of any faith. And so Bryan can tell you, we had some challenges in terms of distribution because people were confused. How can you make a faith-based film that isn't a Christian film? And our film really is more, that's why I call it an inspirational film, because the faith-based term was a little bit of confusing for the faith-based distributors.
Well, I want to say that I think it's very narrow-minded to only believe that a faith has to be attached to a religion. And I get it.
Right. Yeah.
But in all of those things, and I think everybody will remember seeing what's on the dog's collar, like the Star of David, the Om, the Buddhist symbol, the cross, and everything. And there was a bumper sticker maybe in the 70s that simply said coexist.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
Yes.
And it had those things. Now,
and that was our guide for the dog's collar, that bumper sticker.
Voilà.
That's what we talked about with the property people.
Right. Yep.
and you know, we talked about the churches that are arenas, where before churches weren't like arenas. when we went through Texas and Houston and all those things, and off the freeway, the driver would say, "You see that right there?" I said, "Who plays there? The Rockets?" They say, "No, man, that's a church, and it might be 15,000 people."
Yeah.
And it's packed on every Sunday, and they.
Yeah.
And those people, I think, if you say, because there might be some opposition to, if those people are against me for my public views, that they might not be interested in seeing this film because they might think that, they just don't like me as a person. But this movie is really, really good. And I know that it can't be easy to make. I know that it wasn't easy to make. How did you guys meet?
How did Ross and I meet?
Yeah.
So funny enough, I was the chairman of the board for the Santa Fe Film Festival. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I was the chairman of the board for the Santa Fe Film Festival, and Ross and Mark Medoff had come in. This is 2014 to get an award. And funny enough, we're sitting down at a dinner at a tequila bar that was sponsored, and Ross is sitting across from me. We're eating dinner. Mark Medoff's wife, Stephanie Medoff, sitting right next to me, and then Mark this way. And Stephanie and I start chit-chatting just about life. And then she says, this young man, Mark, is a talent manager. Right? Right? She says, this young man is a talent manager, Mark, and you need a talent manager. And Mark, I think, says, I don't think I do. And she says, no, he does. So we all started chatting, and by the end of dinner, I was representing Ross and Mark, and that's actually how it happened in 2014, right?
Wow.
So Mark Medoff, for the audience, is the screenwriter and producer of Walking with Herb. He won the Academy Award and Tony Award for Children of Lesser God. And this film, Walking with Herb, Mark was my mentor, then my partner, my father-in-law, and Mark passed away in post-production. So this is actually the last thing he ever worked on. And the most meaningful part of the film for me is at the very end, when the film's ending and before the credits come up, we have on screen in loving memory of Mark Medoff. So the film is dedicated to Mark. And he was so proud of this film, so proud, and such a talented, amazing writer.
And we are sitting with, we want to make sure everybody knows, the executive producer and director of Walking with Herb.
Fuck that.
To make sure.
Sit your ass down.
Okay.
I didn't say 10 minutes of that. That can be done at the end. Let me just, man, I mean, when you see, it's going to be emotional. When you see Mark come to the set, clearly looking very ill from chemotherapy and swollen and just weak, but he was, Ross, really very happy every day that he got to see this coming to life, man. And nothing really makes me happier than either before or after to go over to where he was sitting and him, rub my back and say, man, you're just making all of these words sing. And I'm like, this guy, clearly is not going to get better. And I think his daughter was amazing in it as well.
She was, yeah. She was fantastic.
Jessica Medoff plays. When we were shooting, Mark would come to the set as often as he could. As you said, he was very, very ill and had a hard time, physically making it to the set. And Eddie almost said to me after one of the scenes, he whispered to me, he said, Mark's not going to be around for the premiere of the movie. And at the time, I didn't realize how sick he was. I guess I knew. I was in denial, I guess, really. Mm-hmm. And when Eddie said that to me, it really, really hit me like a ton of bricks. And it became even more important that this movie be as great as it could possibly be. And if I was given 110%, and suddenly when Eddie said that to me, it was 180%, because I knew that we owed it to Mark to make this a great movie. He worked so hard in the script and was so proud of the script. And the interesting thing is, Mark was agnostic and didn't believe in God, but through the process of making this movie, he became a bit more of a believer. And on his deathbed, he started really accepting the fact that there is something out there greater than all of us that will guide him to a better place when he finally passed.
Were you with him when he passed?
I very much was, yeah. He was in a hospice, and the hospice nurse was listening for a heartbeat. She'd say, "Yep, he's still here." 30 seconds later, she'd listen, "Yep, he's still here." 30 seconds later, she put the stethoscope on his chest, and he said, "He's gone." So I was there literally as he took his last breath. It was just overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what did he see? How far were we with this movie?
He saw, as you know, in post-production, a movie, you do many, many cuts and many different versions. And so we were probably in the middle of picture edit. So he got to see, he didn't see visual effects, he didn't hear the score of the movie and any of that, but he was able to give me some notes. This was the fourth movie Mark and I did together. So we've done, 3 previous movies. So we really had worked very closely and had a shorthand. So for him to leave me and leave us in the middle of post-production was really very hard, because I was used to working hand in hand with him on all the projects. So it was really difficult. Post-production was really, really difficult.
What are those other 3 movies?
We did a film called Homage, based on a play of his called The Homage of Fouls, with Blythe Danner and Frank Whaley and Bruce Davison, and won an award at Sundance. We did another movie called Showdown on Rio Road, which you may remember Robbie Benson. We did Robbie Benson. And then we did a film called The Heart Outright, which is also based on a stage play of Mark's, and then Walking with Herb. So we did 4 films together.
This interview is going to be long, and then we'll trim it up and stuff. Bryan, describe the book Walking with Herb, and if you can remember, when did you first hear about it?
Yeah, definitely. So the book is really a faith-based novel that Joe Bullock, who's our executive producer, he wrote. That was his brainchild, and it was a little different from when we looked at it. And I remember this must have been in about early 2017. Ross and Mark had called me and said, "We found this amazing book from a local writer that's faith-based, and we want to make this. Can you read it and take a look at it?" And I said, sure. So of course I read the book, and I said, you know what, there's a fantastic story here. But the story we ultimately landed up making is a little different, right? Mm-hmm. From the book, it varies.
Right.
And we went through a period where we were taking the book out and just shopping it to studios early on to say, Mark Medoff will write this, Ross Marks will direct this. Can you essentially underwrite the development of this? And the faith-based world is kind of, Hollywood is small, right? You have your same people you're running into a lot of the time, especially in the executive level. But the faith-based area is the same, but even tinier. So you only had 3 buyers.
Okay.
Right?
And what are the 3 buyers?
So, at the time, it's Lionsgate, it's Sony, and it's PureFlix, and maybe, let's throw in a 4th, maybe Universal is trying to get into it. They're doing a little bit of it, but it's not fully there. They're not committed yet.
What is the most popular faith-based movie to date as we sit here?
I would say, I Can Only Imagine.
It's The Passion of the Christ.
Oh, you're right. It is.
Wow.
You're absolutely right. It is Passion of the Christ.
Which did over $500 million. But PureFlix, George, who ultimately became our distributor and embraced the film, did a movie called God Is Not Dead, which did over $100 million.
Wow, God.
And I think they've done, 3 or 4 sequels to that.
Yeah, they did, and they have another one coming out now.
With the name Pure Flix, I was in Seattle a long time ago on tour, almost like 2007. Did they start out as a company where you put quarters in to watch the movie in those little booths? Because Pure Flix sounds like
Flix.
That's a good question.
they're running out there telling the dude, hey man, I need $5 or more. It costs $125 to see that movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you get kicked out of that booth in
I did.
that thing? Yeah.
I did.
In
I got kicked out of
Seattle,
one of those booths.
he got kicked out of one of those peep shows with another guy.
Yeah, I went there. We were on the
What
road.
you trying to mop? You grabbed a mop or something and threw your ass out?
No, that was the guy who was with us, and it was the dirtiest place we've ever been to in our life. I don't know why we walked in there, and we went to a peep show because we hadn't been to one in 30 years. And one of the guys cut his hand on a mop, and we're like, "You're gonna die."
Cut his hand on a
It's the dirtiest place I've ever been to in my life, and you have an open wound.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know whatever happened to him. Like,
He died. He
Yeah,
died.
I was gonna say, I think he might be done.
Yeah. And then, I was a little concerned about this movie when you guys came to me and you said, Edward James Olmos has agreed to be in it, right? And then I was golfing and I really hadn't talked to Eddie. I mean, I've known him since '88, so we go through periods where, we don't see each other. He's working on stuff. And I said, is this still you? And he's like, who's this? And I said, Lopez. And then he called me, and I was golfing. And he's like, hey. And I said, hey, are you attached to this movie, Walking with Herb? And he said, no.
That's hilarious.
And I said,
He was right,
no.
though.
I said, no. Because they told me that you were. He goes, no, man. What do you think of this? Did you read the script? I said, I read the script with you in mind. And since you don't know or you haven't heard of it, I'm a little concerned.
That's funny. We have a story about that.
And then he says, let me hang up and let me call you back so you could fill in that part that's missing.
Yeah, so I'll tell you. So this is interesting. So Ross, when we were thinking about going out, I'm going to give you a little bit more context. Thinking about going out with the book, someone had pitched us George Strait to play Joe, right? And at the time, he was named Joe Goodman. And we said, oh, that's really interesting, right? Maybe, George Strait, country singer, faith-based movie, whatever, right?
I'm going to say that I think that's a good name to throw out there. Somebody throws out George Strait for this movie, I would have said, I can see that.
Right. And then we ultimately looked at it, and Ross and Mark said, he's fantastic, but I think we need to do something really special. And we said, what is that? And we said, let's cast somebody Hispanic as Joe. Right, Ross?
And the reason we did that is I'm talking to you from Las Cruces, New Mexico. And I teach at New Mexico State University. I teach film when I'm not making movies. So Las Cruces, and George has been there a few times, about 70-80% Latinx. And New Mexico State University, where I teach, is about 70-80% Latinx. And we wanted the film Walking with Herb to honor our community. So we said, if we're going to honor the community, we need to make the lead of the movie Latinx. We need to honor that culture. We need to honor that community. So we changed the character in the novel as a Caucasian male, and we changed it to and the reason I say Latinx, and I'd like you to weigh in on this, George, I was teaching a class about 2 years ago, and I said Hispanic, and then the student said to me, no, it's Latinx. It's not Latino, it's not Hispanic, Mr. Marks, Professor Marks. You have to refer to us as Latinx. That's the proper term. If you're going to, refer to us, you have to refer to us properly. And then recently, who were we talking to, Bryan, that got upset with me when I said Latinx?
I won't say the name, but somebody on our marketing team.
Yeah, I got
on our Hispanic marketing team.
Was it yeah? You should say their name.
And they were offended by that, or they just didn't.
They were offended by the.
Oh, are you still here?
I'll be quiet after this question.
But it's funny you say that, George. The thing with Eddie, so we changed it to a Latinx male, and I had reached out to Eddie and sent him the script, and on a Friday, and on Monday he called me, said he loved it and he wanted to do it, and then he called me a little bit later and said he was shooting something and he couldn't do it.
Mayans.
Mayans.
No.
Okay, he was shooting
Wasn't it a
Mayans.
movie that he directed that he was doing with Kathleen?
No. So he had that too, but he had already finished it. What happened is the Mayan schedule they fell behind on the scripts and the shooting schedule. The network didn't like the scripts they had, so he had to keep pushing. And that's when Eddie called and said, he called and said, I would love to do this movie, but you guys have to move on. He said, you guys have to move on from me because I'm not going to be done in time to shoot in August or September, I don't think.
Yeah, but by that time, I thought Eddie was doing the film. And in the movie, he plays this small-town banker who has a crisis of faith, who is contacted by God, and God sends his messenger, this very unusual, quirky messenger. And I thought to myself, what would God's messenger look like for a Latinx male? Who would he send? And I thought he's going to send another Latinx male, right? And then I knew I wanted the character to be funny. So I thought, who is the funniest, best Latinx male? And George was my first choice. I said, we got to get George Lopez to play Herb because he is the perfect messenger of God. It's going against type, which is wonderful, and it's also appealing to Eddie's character. So we made the offer to you, and then you called Eddie. And at that point that you called Eddie, we actually had an offer out to Martin Sheen. We were reversing course. Yeah. We, of course, had the Martin Sheen, and Eddie calls me up. I remember I was in the middle of teaching a class, and my phone rang 3 times. It was a L.A. number. Finally, I stepped out of class. He said, it's Eddie Olmos. He said, did you offer this to George Lopez? I said, yes, I did. And he said, did he say yes? I said, I think he's very interested. He said, well, if George does it, I have to do it. So we've got to figure out how to make this possible, because if George is in, I've got to do this movie.
Yeah, well, what happened too is when Ross said, I got to get George Lopez, you were the first choice, right? I got to get George. And I actually said, you know what? I know Jason Heyman. He's an old buddy, right? Mm-hmm. And he's your agent, right? Mm-hmm. And so we call Jason, and Jason's like, yeah, let me take a read. And it luckily got to you, and you got to see it. But Ross is right. You talked to Ross. I think you read it, and we set up a phone meeting, right? Mm-hmm. And after you got off that phone meeting, Eddie called Ross, and Ross had called me and said, hey, he just said George told him he wants to do it, and he's back in. And that's how it came together.
Martin Sheen, it's funny when you look at, who could have been, and then you say, well, Martin Sheen is an incredible actor.
Yep.
He would have been able to do it. Would he have been able to pull off the golfing part? I don't know, because usually golfers. Somebody played Ben Hogan in The Sun Always Rises, or his movie. Forgot who did that, and they didn't swing very well. And it's one of the things that people remember to this day. And that was like about his accident to come back, and he won the U.S. Open. Right. And me playing in the pro-ams, and me kind of, I used to be in that world of golf. I'm not so much anymore. I love golf, but I don't go where they don't want me. And you think, I know, man, I try to do so much to help that game. I know that if it doesn't work, that'll be something that will carry on forever. But then, I told people, like, I read this movie that I might be doing with Olmos about, this book, Walking with Herb, and they say, well, what part are you? I said, well, I would think I'd be the golfer, I think, right? Why would I be the caddy? I didn't think I would be the caddy.
Right.
And when I saw that Eddie was the golfer, I can't believe how hard he worked.
Oh, fantastic, right? Yeah.
And how good he became at being a golfer, or resembling a golfer, and hitting his own shots and making his own putts. The people that I show the trailer to, this is a 20-footer with a slight break to the left, and he makes it. Yeah. And getting Terry Gannon, who was pumping it during the LA Open, pumping the movie during the broadcast, and Faraday, which are two huge names.
Massive, yeah.
Who are on TV in the world of golf every week. That was the credibility of that, and Quinones is in it, is is really, really good. And, golfers, or at least before, they were very faith-based type guys. I saw Bubba Watson at Lakeside. We went out to him. I think I gave the script to his wife. I'm not sure that she even read it, but this would have been a great opportunity for somebody in golf to step up and to have played what Billy did. But then nobody would have done it as good as Billy. Like, you want to tell how you found Billy?
Yeah. So Billy was Billy's
and
been
Billy,
a friend.
his full name, I don't know.
Billy Boyd. Yeah. So Billy Boyd from Lord of the Rings plays Pippin, right?
Yeah.
We're writing. Ross and Mark are writing the script, and one thing we realized in the script is we're playing in the world entire, right? And everybody, all the characters are American, right? That would never happen. You'd have people from all over the world in the world entire. And Billy had been a friend of mine for a very long time, and we had talked about him doing it. And Mark Medoff and Ross said, let's change the character from American and let's create a Scottish character specifically for Billy. They wrote the part for him, rewrote the script, and then I sent it to Billy, and Billy was like, "Yeah, I'm in." That's how it came together. Yeah, Billy loved the part. That was the thing, is he felt it was such a person who had struggles that was perceived as kind of a bad guy,
right,
but was really a good guy underneath it all, and just needed someone to see that, and he loved it.
Well, in the world of golf, they used to say that so-and-so was the best player to never win a major, because in golf it all comes down to winning. I don't think you could be the most winning golfer on the PGA Tour and not collect majors along the way. Like Anna Kournikova never won. It's very difficult to win. And there's some European players, Darren Clarke won a British Open. But right now you see in these last tournaments, we're in the middle of March, that Lee Westwood has resurfaced as a golfer. He didn't win the PGA, the British Championship.
He gets second.
Yeah.
Second.
Yeah.
Second
So his career is one where he's been right up against it and not been able to get past, that last day.
Right.
And he lost the Arnold Palmer on a putt that he left short. That's for a guy that's a world-class player. You never do. And then he lost the Players' Championship, came in second. But they don't announce that anymore on golf, because the players went to the commissioner and said, every time they say we're the best player who's never won a major, it puts undue pressure on us. So please, if you could stop saying that. And they did. They stopped, because those guys couldn't. It's just when somebody's talking about you that you can't hear, but millions of people at home can hear, they say, oh, he's had 5 second-place finishes. He's never won a major. And they eliminated that part of golf. That's how difficult golf is. But also, Trevor Immelman is a very close friend of mine. He won the Masters in 2008, and he's very, very religious. So I would love for him to be able to get a link to see this at his house. I'm surprised we didn't go to him. He would have been great.
Well, we did. You gave me his phone number.
Yeah.
And we had talked to him, but what was going on is he was doing something in South Africa at the time we were filming. But yeah, we did go to him.
Yeah. Okay.
And George, you talk about great golf movies, and you think about Billy Boyd's caddy in the movie.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So
how great is
Billy
that?
Boyd. So it's me and Edward Olmos, and Edward's Joe Amableamo, and then I'm Herb, and then Billy Boyd is
Archie.
Archie. What a great name. Archie
Borthwick.
Archie Borthwick. And his caddy is Ross?
Wiley Daniels.
And Wiley Daniels is played by Bryan?
Christopher McDonald, who is known as Shooter McGavin to the rest of us.
Awesome.
Yeah. Isn't that great?
Incredible. So those scenes with Billy and Christopher, myself, and Eddie there on the back or walking on the fairway, really, really good. And the burning bush, somebody is it giving away too much? The burning bush?
No, I think the real twist is the end putt, which we don't want to give that away. The last putt on the 18th hole.
Well, I mean, yeah, in a lot of movies, unfortunately, you can kind of see things, coming toward the end. You're like, how is this not going to be that? This is nobody expects what happens at the end.
Right.
And there's two endings in this movie. There's an ending on the golf course, and then there's an ending later at the bus.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. So this movie.
I remember when we were shooting that bus scene. George was really emotional. You were really emotional, and we were shooting the coverage. You know, when anytime you shoot a movie, you obviously do multiple angles and multiple takes. And I was shooting Eddie first, and you were so emotional, you were crying. You were crying on Eddie's coverage, which never happens. An actor never actually brings it when they're not on camera. So Eddie pulls me to the side. He said, "You got to shoot George right now. You got to shoot George right now. You got, you know." So we changed the lineup of how we were going to shoot things. We turned around and we grabbed George, and you were. It wasn't acting. You were not acting. You were really emotional, saying goodbye to Eddie's character and to Kathleen and what the journey had meant to you. And Eddie afterwards said to me, that was the right thing. He said, "I've never seen an actor so into the moment and so believable as what George just did." He said, "That was incredible."
Yeah, but everybody was crying on that. That's the thing is George didn't even realize this. Everybody behind the camera, because of the emotion that you had in your face, all of us were in tears because of what you were doing with the character. Like, it was so real. Right, everybody was just like fanning their faces. It was a pretty intense moment,
and it wasn't written to for emotion. Really, if you think about Herb as a character, he's 1,000 years old. He's been sent to different people, and the reason I look like the way I look is because it's in New Mexico or Vegas or wherever, and it has to look close enough to. That was a great answer. Close enough to the people who are in that area that he does not look like he doesn't belong.
Right.
So that he fits in fits seamlessly into this community.
Exactly.
To where you can't tell who's who. And I believe that that's, really kind of part of what happens in people's lives when maybe they're saved by getting hit by a car, or maybe they are alerted to something by someone, and there's no way that could have been done other than somebody who is not in human form that's taking on the human form.
Right.
Which I highly believe, and we talked about that on the podcast before. And last night in the middle of my hallway, a flash of light goes on, and just one time, and that means that somebody's trying to appear. So. What are we expecting from this movie? Because already I know that, you're looking for distribution, but then also I don't think I've been in a film that is global. I mean, maybe, Smurfs, but Rio, but not as a human, as a canine and as a fucking
Marmaduke.
Marmaduke is a fucking cat.
That's another one.
Right.
There's a this little girl I saw in the desert. She's 5 years old, and they're like, "Say hello to George," and she's kind of shy. She's kind of shy. I said, "What's your favorite movie?" Oh, she goes, she loves Rio. I said, I'm the bird in Rio. And she looks at me, and I said, I put it on YouTube. And then I said, "Flying isn't what you believe in here. It's what you believe in here." And then I played the clip, and she totally, believed it.
Flipped out, yeah.
But what are we expecting of this? Because the release of it is going to be big.
Yeah, it is. It is. So we got very lucky. So interestingly enough, we were talking about going to these studios, and we talked about PureFlix, who early on said, we don't know if this movie's for us, and they land up being the international distributor, right? We finished the movie, they love it. They're like, "This is the best movie we've ever seen." George, you were there when we held that sales screening. You put it together, right? Mm-hmm. At UTA. And they immediately, after they saw it, their head comes over and says, "I love it. We want the movie. We want to do it internationally." So big stuff. I mean, we're doing our USA release, right? April 30th, May 1st and May 3rd. We're launching with a special event through Fathom, right? So just launching, kicking off there. And then Universal's going to handle all of the home entertainment stuff once we're done. So we've got, we already sold the whole film to Latin America and Europe. So What do we expect out of this? To be honest, I think it's going to be a movie that we all. I mean, look. Let me back up a second and say, when we were on set, let's be honest, it was a magical, fun experience. We all came together, close friends, hanging out. Bryan came to visit us. We hung right. We had a blast on set. That good fortune and good friendships that we made on that film, honestly, I think is going to translate to the world because it means something.
Right.
Really,
right.
It means something.
I have to give a plug, and this you'll appreciate this, George. So when we were casting, I was very blessed as a young director. Gary Marshall, God rest his soul, took me under his wing. He had a script. He called me up. He said, "Hey, I was going to direct this script. I want you to direct it. I'm going to produce it. I'm going to act in it." A film called The Twilight of the Golds. And Gary really mentored me. And he taught me so much as a director. And one of the things he told me was, making a movie so difficult, you only want to work with people that are good people, that you like to be around. And I saw George had made a movie with Gary. And I knew Gary only worked with the very best. So I said, if George can work with Gary, then I can definitely work with George. And Gary, you'll appreciate this story, George, if I haven't told you the story. So I was a 28-year-old director. I'd won an award at Sundance, and I'm doing this movie with the great Gary Marshall. And he calls me the night before the shoot, and he says, I need to talk to you. We're shooting tomorrow. I need to talk to you. So I drive to his house in Toluca Lake. I go to the door. His wife, Barbara, answers the door. Says, "Gary's waiting for you. He's in the bedroom." And this is like the scene going to see, in The Godfather with Brando in the chair, petting the cat. So I go to see Gary in his bedroom, and he says, "Tomorrow is your big day. We're shooting the movie. Are you
well
ready?"
done.
I said,
That's great.
I said, "Yes." He goes, "Do you have your shot list?" I said, "Yeah, I got my shot list." He goes, "Do you have your storyboard?" I said, "I have the storyboard." He says, "Okay. Now I'm going to tell you the most important thing you can learn about directing a movie. Directing a movie is like hosting a party. Everybody needs to have a good time. And if they have a good time, it'll be there on the screen. If they have a shitty time, it's going to be a shitty movie. So go host a great party, make sure everyone has a good time, and the movie will be great."
Ain't that the
And that
truth?
was his directing advice.
I think that
a director is the host of a party.
I think in this podcast, whenever someone is going to say something that is extremely profound, that it should be separated by either a sound or some bells or an alert that tells people that what you're going to hear Ross say is going to be something that if you adhere to it will change the way you look at projects or life. Right, Grant? You know what I mean?
Right on.
And then later on, como llama Horvath is calling it. She's upset. So I agree. I agree with that because I walked from my house to the Falcon Theater, where is Gary's theater, and they said, Gary wants you to look at this movie. And I was on TV then, and I said, I'll walk over there. Fucking huge mistake. The lady stopped me. Everybody that was in line at Ellen that was going to get coffee over there. Everybody at Bob's Big Boy saw me from across the street. And he's like, "I heard there's noise outside." I said, "What is going on outside?" It's George talking to all the ladies from Ellen. And I love that guy. And toward the end of his life, we got to Atlanta. Remember that?
Yep.
And the phone rang in my room, and I never answered. I answered it, and he says, "George, it's Gary. I know that you just got to the hotel. I just only want to tell you that I love you." And I said, No, I'm coming down. No, I'm on the way out. But I just only wanted to say that I knew you were here, and I'm calling you to tell you that I love you. Wow. And nobody does that.
Great person.
He was the most gracious, kind, giving human being I've ever met in my life. And he had this thing. You remember he had his assistant that ran his life. And he always brought him his tuna sandwiches. The other great thing that Gary said to me, we were shooting, this is the other two great things, Gary, great piece of advice. We were shooting the movie, and he hands me a silver vial. It was a particularly stressful scene. I was directing it, and I said, "What is this?" "Open it up." And I open it up, and inside are toothpicks. He said, much better than cigarettes. Start chewing on toothpicks.
Right.
And he got me in, and if you remember, Gary was always chewing on toothpicks.
You know what? I'm going to agree to that.
And got me hooked on toothpicks.
And then when somebody said to me in an interview, how would you describe somebody to Gary on the set so that they would find him? I said, look for the guy who's eating half a sandwich and has a coffee cup that's styrofoam full of peanuts. And they walked 10 feet, and he goes, George! And Gary held his up. He had a sandwich, and he had peanuts in the cup.
Classic.
Why should people watch this film, Walking with Herb?
Well, it's, we're coming out of a really dark time. The pandemic has really kept us all down emotionally and mentally, and it's been very, very difficult. This is an uplifting, inspirational film. A friend of mine, a very close friend, saw the film, and he said, this is like It's a Wonderful Life. He said, this is the most feel-good film I have seen since It's a Wonderful Life. And he said, let me tell you something. No matter what happens, it's 111 minutes. He said, no matter what happens, the first 100 minutes of the film, it doesn't matter, because the last 15 are so great and so feel good. Audiences are going to walk out of this theater feeling great. He said, I haven't felt this good watching a movie since It's a Wonderful Life. So I think it's such an upbeat, inspirational, feel-good movie that it's going to really elevate people's moods coming out of a dark time.
Well, we've never seen a time like this in all of our lives. And it's unfortunate that, we all know people who have lost their lives to this virus. And, we all have to carry on. And whether you're faith-based or not, we're not going to succeed or carry on without believing in something, either each other or whatever you consider your higher power. So I can't wait for people to see me like this in this movie, because it's something that I've never done. And I was telling somebody, I was telling the people that I was with, the poster, I said, the poster's a bit intimidating for me, because it says Academy Award nominee Edward James Olmos, Academy Award nominee Kathleen Quinlan, and over my name, nothing. You could have put fucking Rescues Dogs, fucking Alma Award winner, 3-time Imagina winner. I wanted a local Emmy. Brewmaster, I want a local Emmy, which is, not embarrassing that is 9 times smaller than the real Emmy.
That's awesome.
Fucking keychain.
Hey, don't forget, you had approval over that poster. We could put anything you want. We can even go back and even print it yet. It's only
No,
digital.
It's cool, man. No, it's good. I mean, Kathleen Quinlan is, there was another actress. Let's talk for a second about how, you can think you could have someone who's equally, that was another, I believe it was an Academy Award winner that was in there. Did she win?
Mary McDonnell, right?
Two-time nominee.
Two-time nominee.
Yeah.
And she also, an amazing actress. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why we lost her, but she did text me and say, I'm sorry that this didn't work out. I was looking forward to working with you, which I thought is very classy of someone. Nobody, it's equivalent to like somebody writing a thank you card. Yeah,
she was wonderful. She really was. I think it was creatively, it didn't work out. She really had an idea of where she wanted the character to go that we were open with. But at the end, I think it just didn't jive. But she's amazing. She's wonderful. Yeah.
How different do you think the character would have changed if she had done it?
Dramatically.
Let me ask you a question, George. How do you think, when we were shooting the golf scenes and it was about 30 degrees out, and we did that for about 10, 11 days, mm-hmm. and Kathleen Quinlan had no lines, but she's standing there in a short sleeve shirt because we're trying to pretend that it's 80 degrees. Yeah. And she has no lines. She's just standing there in the crowd, nodding and smiling. And, not for 11 days she does this. Not many actresses would do that in the 30-degree weather, stand there with no lines for 11 days, and every day be more cheerful than the next. So we were very blessed to have Kathleen Quinlan. She was not only a great actress and is amazing in the movie, but a real team player, and just wanted this movie to be successful every day that she was on the set.
Who would have done a better job than me as Herb.
Nobody. No, I mean it. Nobody. There wasn't anybody. Truly.
Maybe Peter Dinklage.
Who, Peter Boyle?
No, that's awesome.
But truly, there isn't. There wouldn't have been. Yeah.
You know, it's you know, I think in the end, you know, when I first met Edward Olmos, you could say it's almost a bit of a recreation of real life. I met Edward James Olmos at the Imagen Awards at the Beverly Wilshire in 1988. And there I met Cesar Romero, I met Milton Berle, I met a lot of people that are not around, but then also people that became my friends, you know. And Eddie, you know, didn't have to say, you know, come to my house, let's, you know, have lunch, and, you know, I want to get to know you a little bit. And I went to his house, and I remember he had a Porsche back there that he got at a police auction from a drug dealer in Miami Vice.
That's
when they used to sell drug dealers cars and stuff, this great
funny.
black Porsche with a big fin in the back, crazy. I would have had a dog sniffing before I would have taken parts of it. I'm sure one of those bumpers had coke in it. And after that, we stayed very close. We maybe bumped heads a little bit, you know, during those 30 years, but he did my almost like second to last episode of my television show.
He directed it.
Directed it, and he was in it. And that was the end of the kind of that 120 episode run. But along since then, we've, you know, come to highly respect each other. I think what you notice in the way we were away from the scenes and stuff like that. But at that emotion, which is a break of character, I think. If you look at Herb, he probably would not have had emotion because it's something that he had done for hundreds of years as a messenger. You don't think he's going to get emotional because
Right.
it was just a gig, and kind of in the way he says it, I've done this before many, many times, and you know, it adds to what's beautiful about the movie is that even somebody who was a messenger who's kind of maybe trapped between, you know, when people pass, they may not get there. Sometimes they're in that kind of limbo, and they have to prove themselves before they get to move on, which I sense a lot in my house. And the spontaneous emotion of him saying, is this it? You know, will I ever see you again? Is what got me, man. It just, but, you know, I learned so much in that month of rehearsal as well. Like, Edward Olmos is a guy that just doesn't show up to work and hasn't done his work. He made me do the work when we were in there. Remember, guys, and we'd be there all afternoon rehearsing, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to stand up and do scenes or try to get those words out. And I think maybe it was the second day he said, "Oh, George is going to get a nomination for this. Like, he's going to be really good at this." Like you guys always said.
Remember, we were rehearsing in Manhattan Beach, that scene where you reveal yourself as God. You take off your glasses. And it's funny because that scene's so powerful because you chose to wear sunglasses throughout the golf tournament.
Yeah.
Which initially I said, well, wait a second, we can't see his eyes. And then I said to myself, well, that's the point. That's the point. He's not human. You can't see his eyes, right? That makes him less accessible to the audience. So when you lower your sunglasses and you say, he basically says, I need God. And you say, I'm here. And you just look at him. You take off your sunglasses and say, I'm here. Well, when we did that in rehearsals, you said to Eddie, you said, I'm here. And Eddie stops. He goes, holy shit. I just got chills. He's God. That's what this whole movie is about. He is God. Georgie is God. That's what this is. And we all got chills at that moment and when we were rehearsing. And of course, as a director, you're always worried, shit, did I just blow it because we did it in rehearsal and it won't be there on the set?
Yeah, well,
But
I got
when
chills.
we got there on the set-
I got chills, Ross. On that note, I'm sorry cutting you off. But I got chills when we had to take out all the cost to take out all the reflections in George's sunglasses in post.
I know.
That gave me
They
the
had to do all
chills.
the-
Right, as a producer, that's where Brian got his chills. Right, $3,000.
I was like, how much?
Take out the
How much for this one too?
I know, man, for the reflection.
But it came out great. It came out great. Sorry, I cut you off, but I had to say that.
But if you don't
No,
mind
just
me,
saying, and then on the set, when we were there, George has that moment, and it's in the film where he takes off his glasses and he says just simply 2 words to Eddie's character. He says, "I'm here." And the camera pushes in on him, and the camera pushes on Eddie, and Eddie's jaw drops with the realization that he is in the presence of what in the movie we refer to as Al, the Almighty Lord. And it's a chilling moment in the movie. It was chilling in rehearsals, and to this day is how many times I've seen it. It still gets me.
Let me
It's
say
incredible.
let me say that I think this applies whether you see we all hope that you see the movie, but what I learned from this movie can apply to everybody. Here's a guy that had lost his belief in life because a few very important family members had passed. And he was extremely negative, and when you lose your faith, whether you don't even have to come from a religious background, but when you've given up on yourself, you've given up on the people that are around you.
Right.
And and not particularly in this movie, but whenever things are going good for someone, or whenever something good happens, when you're not grounded in something, you can tend to mistrust it, or not respect it, or not believe it, or not show up to it. And anybody that listens to this, whenever you listen to it, if you have a friend that's been that way, call them out on it, and explain to them the examples of, here's when something could have gone good. You didn't go. You didn't try. You didn't go. You made an excuse why you couldn't go. Now your car wouldn't start. But it's all bullshit. You're just trying not to go. But when you don't go, you never know what's going to happen. And when you do go, whether it's good or bad, you at least had an option. When I got back from San Francisco in the late 90s, I always got back hungover, from coming back from San Francisco. And I was living in Sherman Oaks, and I was married with Ann, and Ann's like, tomorrow they want you to go to Santa Monica to just meet this director, Ken Loach. And I said, fuck that, I ain't going. And she's like, why not? It's just a meeting. I'm not going, fuck that. And he goes, well, so what am I going to tell me? You're not going to go? You're just a meeting. You don't have to read anything. So I said, I'm not going to go. Then I went into a room and I thought of not going. And then I knew what was good for me. I said, I'm going to go. And I went to Santa Monica and I met Ken Loach, brilliant director, won the Palme d'Or at Cannes very many times. And he wanted me to read improv scene with this guy Greg Montgomery, who was a police officer. He also was in the movie, and he said, and I remember, you're giving him no quarter, which I didn't understand. I don't know what no quarter meant, but I think it means like to be tough on him. So I was a boss, and he was late, and I got into him in the beginning, but he was a big police officer, and he kind of got into me at the end, and we were like almost face to face. And here's this British guy going, well, yes, great, like separates us, great. So then he comes, and that was Bread and Roses. And then I go and read, and I remember Cheech saying this to me, and this applies as well in life. Because I just couldn't get anything to happen, and I would always call him for, not advice, but just, like uplifting things,
Right.
And he says, all you have to do is get that one thing, and that one thing will get you other things. But the hardest thing to do is to get that one thing. But don't give up, because you'll get it. And then when I went in there, this girl, the last scene I did was, she was always late, and her kid was always sick. And they had a desk there, and they had my desk, and they had a chair where she was going to sit in. And I decided to stand up and look out the window instead of being seated when she walked in. And I hadn't acted. I'd fucking done Ski Patrol 10 years before. and
I didn't know that.
I remember looking out the window and I could hear her kind of coming in, and she said, you wanted to see me? And I'm looking out the window and I said, sit your ass down without turning. And then I said, if I turn around and she's sitting down, I got this part.
Yep.
Because, you know, you say, sit your ass down. And if she's standing behind the chair going, fuck you, I'm not going to sit down. And when I turned around, she was sitting down. And I did it again. And I remember they said, oh, we'll see you. And then I was in the car and I got a call. And the guy said, hey, congratulations. And I called Cheech and I said, I got it, man.
That's amazing.
I got the one thing. And it changed everything.
What was the movie again?
Bread and Roses,
Bread
Ken
and
Loach.
Roses,
It's about the janitor strike in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And Adrian Brody was in it. He
Right.
just won the Academy Award, and it was really good. And of course, like a stupid ass, I leave because I'm doing the Ice House on Saturday, and he's like, "I wish you wouldn't go, man. I have one thing for you to do." Like, and the end of the movie, my character wasn't resolved because I had to leave, and that's all. It bothers me because it was a great resolve to the movie. But you know, I've never been faith-based, but I believe in karma. I believe in, you know, moving on forward, and I believe in being good to people. And did you want to ask something?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you guys what it was like to work with George, because you never had worked with George before, correct?
No,
Neither
that
of
was
you?
the first time.
So did anything about him on the set, in front of the cameras or behind the camera, surprise you at all?
Yeah,
Because-
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, you know, with having not worked with a person and you see the films that you do and watching your comedy routines, you know, you tend to have an idea of like, oh, I think that how this person is going to be. And it was a little intimidating, to be honest, when, that first time we met you, because we didn't know how it was gonna unfold. But at the end of the day, you know, you weren't just that guy telling jokes all day long. You were there you were very present. You were there for your role. You were like, I've got to get these lines down. It was so serious. And then once we got off the set, then we were just normal people having a good time,
Right.
having a drink, right? But it was very different because I was so surprised at how grounded you were, because when you take a comedian, you think a lot of improv, but you were so into bringing that character to life. And that's why, quite frankly, you know, when we said this is a character that nobody's ever seen you in, because you were so present in creating something.
Yep.
So, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember almost the first scene we were working on. You turned to me and you said, "Is it okay if I ad-lib, if I improv?" And I said, "Well, you know, I cast you because I want you to do exactly that. You know, if you feel a line, if you want to say something, do something." I'm as you know, George, I'm very actor-centric. I started out as an actor, and I believe all good films start with great performances. And once you were free to explore this character inside and out, I felt like you really took off. And some of the best lines in the movie are lines that you came up with. You know, you came up with some great lines. And unfortunately, we couldn't put them all in.
Right.
But you were also very respectful of the material. You know, again, Mark Medoff, an Academy Award-winning screenwriter, a playwright. You know, you were very respectful of the lines and really worked very hard to get the material. But, you know, almost from that time you nailed "I'm Here" in rehearsal in Manhattan Beach, when you said that, instantly you were that guy, you know. And then all actors talk about it. Laurence Olivier said he always found the walk, the way the character walked. So to get into character, he would walk a certain way to set in character as that character. So for me, that line, "I'm here," that made you heard. And so whether you consciously or unconsciously or subconsciously kind of went to that place, when the camera rolled and we said action, you were extremely reverential about the material and extremely reverential about working with Eddie and Kathleen. But you became that guy. And like you said, it's interesting to go back to that last moment when you cried. It was breaking character. It was not what I had imagined that final scene would be. You're wearing a certain outfit. that suggests you're being transported to literally an entirely another country. You're going to see one of the worst people in the world and be his messenger and his touchstone. But it worked. It was a happy gift. The crying, because when you first did, I said, gee, I don't know if he would break down. But it was so strong. I said, let's just go with it. And of course, it just really is this incredible, bookend to the film.
What I love about
that, and it also, like you said, it shows that this mission, Herb's had thousands of missions. This one was special.
What I loved about Ross as a director and spontaneously crying over a very emotional part of the movie, the end of the movie, he comes over to me and goes, less. Cry less.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, the
it's too much. The heaving of the chest is too much. Just cry less.
I know. The jerking.
So you still got to get the words out. Don't.
Yeah.
But
and
we have an option of me completely in tears and then one less.
And you guys were we got a great opportunity to hang out on the set with you guys a couple times, and you guys were ridiculously close. I mean, everybody seemed like a family there. Do you think, obviously the people involved, but do you think it's because of maybe the type of film, a faith-based film, because it was so kumbaya. Everybody loved hanging out with each other all the time. It was so crazy tight. Everybody was very family.
Yeah, I think it was. You're right. I think it was. I think when you go into a film like that, I think everyone kind of has a perception. Like, I think that everybody involved is probably right off the bat a good person.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my perception of it.
Yeah.
And when you go in thinking like that, you're like, I want to be on my best behavior because of what the film represents, and I want to think about how other people would feel. I want to be really open-minded to everybody, to their requests, to their needs. And I think, yes, that probably was a binder for it, right? But then you get to know everybody, and you're just like, I'm having a good time with this person, and I have a huge respect for these people, and people that you just, even MJ Grant, who was the ASL interpreter for Tammy Santameyer, just the way she blended in and working with everybody as the ASL was amazing to have her there, like from the ground up, right? And from anybody in the crew, cast, production, everyone just got along fantastic. And I think it was because of the movie, but then the people ended up being good too.
Yeah, I mean, it was
the best thing, George, about this movie is Eddie. I don't know if you read it. Eddie, in an interview, said this was the best experience he's ever had making a movie. This is a guy who's made 80 movies.
Unbelievable.
So when I read that line, I hope millions and millions of people see the film. I hope it's a big hit financially and otherwise. But Eddie's saying it's the best experience he ever had making a movie. To me, that was that was enough. But the real reason, again, I said it, the credit for that set being as loving and as family oriented, really, I just have to give it to the late Gary Marshall, because that was his thing, and he really, he didn't care when what the camera was doing. He didn't care about the lighting. He cared that everybody on that set was having a good time and pulling in the same direction, and we were really fortunate that we had that.
Well, I mean, how beautiful is it that I got to work with him, and that he meant so much to me, and I didn't know that until right now. But you and I got along incredibly well. You and I as well. And, Kathleen and I still friends. Eddie's still friends. She came to see us in Portland. She was great.
She went to a show, yeah.
And, we honor Mark, man. I mean, that guy, to go, Ross, to go to the set those days and to be able to see an agnostic even who found something at the end of his life as well.
No,
very much
big,
so.
Yeah. And by the way, when you were, something I wanted to mention, you haven't talked about yet, but you were doing your stand-up all over on tour on the weekend. So you were. What was interesting to me is how, and you'd show up with Bryan because he was on tour with you, and he'd pop up, and even Momo would show up too, right? Because you guys were together. But that's a question I always had for you, like, how did you do it, really? Because you were busting your ass all week long in character as Herb, and then you take a flight out late. you'd leave for the weekend, you'd go do your shows, and then you'd show right back up 5 a.m. ready to work, and it was like you didn't sleep. How did you balance that?
Well, I already have the stuff kind of in my head. I transcribe all the shows, and one of the reasons why I always wear a suit, almost like a baseball player that gets to the ballpark at like 3 to do extra batting practice. When either it's Friday or Saturday, but by 3 o'clock I'm in the room trying to sleep from 3 to 6. So if I sleep from 3 to 5:30 or by 3, nobody's going to see me from 3, really kind of before the show. And I take that nap, and when I get up, I take a shower, and I know that while I'm in the shower and when I get out, I transform to the guy that's going to wear the suit. So when I put the suit on, it tells me that I'm in that mindset, and that I'm going to go out there and not be anything other than the guy that all these people paid to see. So it's a process as well.
It's funny. Last week, George, I was playing golf with Greg Nye, and I just want to say I shot a 78. First time I broke 80.
Well done.
Very excited.
Well,
Congratulations.
let's say something about Joe Bullock. He said to me that time we played golf that, and I never heard anybody say this about their father, but their father was a happy guy, and just like, what can I do, guys, to make your day great? And I mean, he teared up, and I'm like, wait a minute, tell me again. He's like, my dad was like our best friend, and we lost our mother, so we don't have a mother, and he just was more than a mother and father. Just became this incredible person that they still revere. When most people talk about their parents, they don't have much to say. And I found that guy incredible. Also, I found him a bit of he can be a herb as well, somebody that is on this earth for a purpose.
So.
Yeah,
very much so.
Yeah, Joe is Herb, right?
Yeah,
Joe is
Herb.
the real life Herb.
He really is. And very supportive and very happy and really funny. And he loves golf. We're out there all playing. And what do you want to say about him?
No, I mean, Joe's the greatest. Ross, you go first.
Joe literally is the I said, I don't think you were there, George. We screened it for the investors in Las Cruces. And I got up and I said, listen, the only thing I want after this movie's over is for Joe Bullock to come up to me and said, I'm proud of you. You did a good job. I said, if that happened, I don't care if we make $1. If Joe is happy and he's proud of this film, that's all that matters to me. And he did. He came up to me. He said, I'm proud of you. You made a great, and really, and the film's dedicated to Mark, but Joe is, he wrote the novel. He raised the money. He was so supportive at every turn, and you have that expression, they'd give you the shirt off their back. I don't think there's a person on this planet, good or bad, that Joe wouldn't give the shirt off his back. He's the most gracious, giving human being. He's a saint. I mean, really, truly is a saint.
Yeah, and we also want to thank a couple of people companies that are very close to me. We thank the guys, Terry Gannon and David Faraday and NBC and the Golf Channel, all great. But Titleist and PXG came through really big at a time when, they kind of golf companies that kind of really are not doing that. Ross, they're not giving you money for the banner and giving you money for the clubs and for the signs. And they went above and beyond what I thought they would do, and I'm very, very proud that companies that I have a history with would not have forgotten me when it's something that I rarely do is go to them for something for not just me, but for this wonderful film.
Yeah, no, they
also
were.
Pat Monahan, George. Your friend Pat Monahan. You gotta thank him. I mean,
yeah, I think Pat's one of the best. And when I sent Pat the script, in his family, there was someone who suffered a very tough loss, and him reading that script when it had just I believe happened it's funny, man. It's like a sign for him. He read it. He was in tears. His wife was in tears, and he said, I'm in because this happened in my family. And reading this, I almost couldn't believe that I was reading these pages because it was so similar to what a family member was going through, suffering a devastating loss.
God, that's sad.
So
that's
he
sad.
he gave us, what is that song called?
Calling All Angels.
Calling All Angels. And did he write one?
Yeah.
A new one?
He wrote an original song. He recorded an original song for us.
Changed My Mind. That was his beautiful, amazing original song for the film that we're going to promote heavily. But you've heard it. It's from the heart. Like when he wrote that song, you could tell he read the script, hit him in the soul, right? And then he put it right out from what he was speaking from his heart. It was beautiful. Like you cry,
Yeah.
And it makes the movie.
And for people that don't know, Pat Monahan, by the way, is the lead singer of the band Train.
And the way that we know each other, when I was doing my talk show, they did Hey Soul Sister, which they were incredible. And then afterwards, he and I talked, and we stayed friends. And then we did this thing in San Francisco, and we stayed friends there. And he has the greatest laugh. We met some dudes that had some great laughs.
He's animated too, though.
And he rubs his hands like a fly when he's really enjoying himself.
When he laughs, he does this.
He does this, and he can't believe it.
And he'll have George tell him a joke, and 100% of the time,
And one time this caddy came to and he's like 5'2", and I said, "Where's the other half of you?" And Pat stopped laughing the whole day. I said, "Well, I'm giving you half of your fee because I only got half a guy."
Yeah, but we also got we to be honest, this movie came together so great. Like you brought so many great friends and relationships to the movie that were a dream, and we can't even forget. Like we're talking about Pat and doing this song and all this great stuff, but we were also so lucky to get Henry and Ringo Garza from Los Lonely Boys.
That's
and
right.
they let us use Heaven. They let us use Heaven in
That's
it.
right.
And it was amazing. I remember reaching out. I could not get a hold of them, and Sony was giving me some issues about getting the song for usage. And you said, I know these guys.
Man.
And so I went to Instagram, and I just Instagrammed Ringo directly. I didn't think he was going to reach out to me. And he reached out right away. And I said, hey, George and I would love to ask for you to use Heaven. And he said, oh, my God, here's my number. And we called him, right? Yeah. And it just like that, let us use the song.
I mean, that, in itself is... all of those that met Los Only Boys on the talk show, I don't see them all the time, but they call me like Theo George. So you were there
That's awesome.
in the beginning, and it's amazing. I was never one to have been considered reliable or a good friend. Bryan is somebody that I had a guy that was opening for me in the early 2000s, and he was kind of complaining about things, and things were going really well, and he was complaining about things that would have given him more, but he already had enough. Like enough wasn't enough. And then I said, well, this guy's got to go. And I thought, well, who would I want to be around that I like? It's a pretty short list. And then we met in San Francisco, and we worked together in Sacramento. And I said, hey, man, I like you. We should work together. I didn't even have his number, and I called the Punchline in San Francisco. I got his number, and I called him, and I left this message.
Hey, Bryan, it's George Lopez. Call me back. I'll change your life. That's exactly what he said.
And I haven't yet, but I promise that.
No, I get to hang out with you guys.
So he and I, all of us here, and Ross and everybody, beautiful, man.
Yeah, it is.
I have one last question. I hope you guys don't mind. Who came up with Herb's wardrobe? Because it's a little bit of everything. I mean, how did that come
So
about?
I think that was Ross and Mark Medoff in the script, and then really I think it was. If I recall correctly, it was very clear how the wardrobe was written.
We wanted, Mark and I, when we were creating the screenplay, wanted Herb to be a esoteric, eccentric, unusual guy riding a motorcycle, just not what you would picture God's messenger to be like at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Completely against type. And like George said, it's really interesting that he said that, because I think we didn't talk much about this, but the idea, like George said, is that Herb had a difficult past, and that God said to him, hey, I could send you to hell for what you've done. But instead I'm going to send you to earth, and I want you to earn your wings, so to speak, for you to go and ascend to heaven. And George very much got that instinctively, and that was the character we tried to create. We didn't want this character like Michael Landon and what was that show? And a lot.
What was that show?
That played the angel.
Touched by a Cartwright.
Highway to Heaven, I think it was called. Maybe.
Touched by a Cartwright?
Yeah. But anyway,
In Haas we trust.
Mark and I come up with the wardrobe, and George and Greg Lavoie, our fabulous costume designer,
the best.
Made that possible. So
yeah, no, you got to give a huge shout out to Greg because he did well. But also when you ask who created the wardrobe, right? I mean, there was a lot of people from the script to Greg, and then George. I remember George being like, "I ain't wearing that."
Oh yeah,
right. I ain't wearing that. And then he got to create Herb from that aspect too. Yeah.
But
those pants you said I look like a rodeo clown.
I totally look like a fucking rodeo clown.
It looks so great though. It's like everything.
Did I keep those pants? Because I would fucking wear them.
I think you did keep those pants.
I know I got
I bet you would.
I know I got the jacket. Yeah, I have another one. You fucking son of a bitch. The
It's delicious. I can't help it.
Am I allowed to drink this
Yeah, of
now?
course.
Like, okay.
Oh man, you haven't been drinking it.
I'm like, am I supposed to drink? The producer did this little sip thing to me earlier, and I go, what is that?
fuck yeah.
No, I spilled it all the way down.
Oh, he was telling me to
That dude
drink.
has
I
no
thought he was telling me.
Oh.
I thought he was telling me don't drink when you talk.
That dude's got no
No,
respect.
it's delicious. It's really good, and it might hit you a little hard too. So be careful.
I
Maybe
forgot
that's
we have
what
to
it's
go
on.
live for the IG, but
How many % alcohol is this thing? 5?
No, it's like
4.4.
It's 4.4. Yeah.
yeah, but there's more because I told him.
But there's a
4.4
pint in there,
down.
so it's a full pint. So that'll do you.
It's great beer, by the way. Great beer. I love the artwork, by the way.
Ross, I wish you could have one with us. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I'm
That'd be
jealous.
great. We
It's
shipped it to you.
Going hibiscus lager.
Hey Ross, you
really
don't drink, do you?
Yeah, of
He
course.
only
Yeah.
drinks beer.
Oh man, it would have
I
been
don't
cool if
drink
you
wine.
had your.
I drink beer. Yeah, I don't drink wine. I only drink
We're gonna send you Ross. We're gonna send you some of this George Lopez
Please.
Brewing Company. I think you'll love it.
Oh yeah.
I would love it.
This is what we're
Hey,
doing.
I got a call. You and Bryan, since I have you both, I got a call this morning. Guy leaves me a message on my phone. Says, "This is so and so from Texas. Give me a call." And so I call him back. He says, "Hey, I'm a minister in Texas, and I saw the trailer of your movie, and I love it." He said, "This is amazing. I've been showing it to my congregation. They're so excited." And I'm part of a group of 200 other churches, and I sent it to all the 200 other ministers, and they all love it, and they're all excited. He said, so I think it's been seen over 500,000 times alone just off of me sending it to the 200 ministers and their congregants and me and my congregants. He said, man, you don't realize how big this movie's going to be and how many lives it's going to change.
You know what?
Hey,
I think that.
thank you for the call.
I think that that's something that is unexpected. It would have been expected if this had been stayed as, on the nose, faith-based, which Eddie didn't want to do that. Remember, Eddie was like adjusting it.
Right.
But to get that call knowing that we universally made it appeal to everyone, but also that somebody like that would feel like, it belongs to them, is a testament to both of you guys.
Yeah. No, all of us.
And to
So
you,
thank you.
and
Not
to you
me.
too,
I
to everybody.
I was everything I told you during that movie was a fucking lie.
Started drinking. It started to kick in.
And your dog.
I need another one of these too. I'm gonna have one.
We have some over there on ice.
Oh man.
We're on IG Live right now. These people, I don't think they can hear us, but we're gonna get rid of you guys for a second, and then we're gonna throw down. All right, guys. I thank you for doing this, and it means a lot to see you guys and hear to Herb.
To her.
And to everybody involved.
I know.
Ross, thank you, Ross.
Virtual cheers.
And say hello to your
Thanks for having
daughter,
me.
who as well is really great in the movie.
Yeah, we had a chance to talk to her. Right
Everybody
before.
in the movie had somebody significant except me. I was out there by myself.
That's not true, man. My mom came just to see you.
Now you tell me.
Right.
Choking a guy in Hooters. All right. I remember Kathleen came into the trailer. They go, the police want to talk to you. And I was all calm. She's like, you're not freaking out? I go, police want to talk to me. That's, if they didn't want to talk to me. But yeah, that all worked out as well. Thank you very much for getting me a lawyer in Las Vegas.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
The two top attorneys, in the state of New Mexico representing you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Awesome. That guy never had a chance.
I remember when that happened. I turned to Artie, the AD. I said, "All right, what's going on? How come we're not shooting?" He says, "Oh, we got a little problem with George." I said, "Well, what's going on?" He says, "I'll tell you later." I said, "No, tell me what's going on." He says, "Well, the cops are with George in his trailer."
Yep.
I said, "What?"
And you know that guy played that game, man. He played good cop, bad cop. He was pretending to be my friend, and he wasn't. And that's he kind of got me. But you know, the lawyer said, "Hey, man, that guy, he was trying to play you. He was trying to get you to admit to something I didn't admit, but he was trying to play good cop, bad cop."
All I got to say is Hooters never got so much free publicity in their lives.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Hooters stock was like GameStop for them.
That's awesome. Oh, that's great.
Man, I didn't realize Latinos could turn on their own like that in such a small town. All right, guys, thank you very much for coming in, and congratulations ahead of time.
Cheers.
Thanks very much.
All right,
Thanks.
Ross.
Love you, brother.
I love you.
Bye.
Thank you. All right, Louie.
All right.
Hey, wait a
today's
minute. So because of your long-winded bullshit, this is now a two-part show.
Yeah, you're welcome, everybody. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're going to have to do this in 2 parts. I got a little long-willed. Well, I guess it was me.
Can I tell you something about your relationship? When you got married, you married a quiet Latina. In 5 years, you became the quiet Latina.
I am definitely the quiet Latina. All right, that was part 1. And, or was that part 2? Was that part 1? This stuff is delicious.
You just had one
Part
drink,
two.
though.